Welcome. This is the Central Florida Computer Society Windows Special Interest Group, or WinSIG, for Sunday, July 12th, 2020. And we're off and running on a new computer, and we're going to have a good meeting. We got a lot of good topics to talk about today, and we're glad you're here. We've got 38 people online, and for those of you who are watching on YouTube, please make sure that you subscribe to us so you see when we post new ones, and the more subscriptions we get, it counts for things in YouTube for us. So we would appreciate you doing that. So what are we going to talk about today? Well, let's see if I can bring up the SIG meeting. This is the notes where you can go to the website, huey.net, then go to the Windows SIG meeting notes, and you can find the notes for each week. And at the end of this meeting, shortly thereafter, sometime tonight, tomorrow, in the next couple of days, you'll also be able to find an embedded copy of the video of this meeting, and you'll be able to go to YouTube to watch it there if you wish as well. These are the topics we're going to talk about in the order, maybe, and we may not get to all of them. So I'm going to minimize this, and I'm going to start with a big thank you. Let's see how I do this to make sure I'm on the right screen. I'm doing two screens now, which I didn't do before. So we want to, let's see. I'm sure you can't see it right now. So when we do this, I think it's on the wrong screen. You're seeing the notes, and I want you to see the, let's see, how do I display settings? Swap, there we go. You should see the big screen with the thank you on it. I hope that's correct.
Yes.
Okay. And all of the hands, and I want to say a thank you to everybody who helped me get a new computer, and CFCS and many of its members, but also members of other user groups, and just those of you who attend a lot of my presentations helped with the funding, and I'm able to continue to do what I'm doing and make it work. So let me talk a little bit about what I've got here. Let's see here. There we go. All right, so we're at the 1. We'll go to 2, 3. Now, the first step in getting a new computer is taking apart the old computer and having to move it is what I had to do. I had to move the desk to make room for my new desk and to build everything. So what I had to do was unhook every wire, and I mean I have wires and lights, and Robin says the room looks like an airport at night with all the little blinking lights and red and blue and green color and white color lights that are underneath the desk and everything. So I had to unhook everything, and we've been here 5.5 years, so that on some of them there were 5.5 years of dust on top of it as well. So I took each wire separately, took it apart, wiped it down, and labeled it. And I put labels on each end of the wires, on the items that it plugged into, and on the plug that plugs into the wall, to make sure that I knew where everything went. And at the end, I had no extra wires, and everything was plugged in where it was supposed to. So when I moved my desk and got the old computer back up and running, it worked. I've never had that happen before. Now, one thing I have is a label maker, electric. It holds, I think it takes 6 AA batteries. And when I looked it up to get this picture of it, it's circa 1997. I've had it that long, and it still works well. So whatever you use to make labels to put on your wires, make sure the labels are going to stick either to themselves or to the items that you're going to stick them to. Most of the time, the cables and the cords won't hold the sticker more than a few minutes or an hour. But if you wrap them around and have them stick to themselves around the wires, it works well. So that's what I would suggest you do. You don't have to have an expensive little unit like this, but any kind of a label maker or any kind of a good label that will stick to itself well. Now this is the computer I bought. It is a NUC, an Intel NUC. This is the 10IF7 FHN. It is a 6-core i7 10th generation. It has 6 cores in it, 64 gigabytes of RAM, and a 4 terabyte SSD card in it. It has Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, and it has the standard graphics on board because I couldn't get all of the items that I wanted in it and get a separate graphics card. So I have enough memory in it that it can use a lot of memory, and I'm still able to work with things well using the onboard memory. And then it comes with Windows 10 Professional. It's got 3 USB 3.1 ports. It's got a Thunderbolt 3 Type-C, and it's also got a USB Type-C, which are very similar, but I noticed that I wasn't able to do the second monitor from the Thunderbolt one. I had to do it from the USB-C one. Apparently there is enough differences that it didn't handle the monitor. But that's why I bought that I wanted that second, so I could have dual monitors. And so one is HDMI. It's got an HDMI port in it, and that goes to the main monitor, and then the USB-C to HDMI converter, and I'll show you that in just a moment, and then the HDMI cable to that second monitor. Here's the first monitor I bought. It's a 27-inch Lenovo. And then once I got going, I bought a Samsung curved monitor, 27-inch, and they kind of match, and you'll see it here in a second, what it looks like working together. I bought a desk. The first desk I bought came, and the 2 top pieces were cracked all the way through, so I had to ship it back. They didn't have another one in stock. I am glad for that. I found this desk, and it is actually 4 inches less deep. It's not as deep as the other one, and it would have been too crowded in the space that I had to put it in. It would have been very difficult to get into bed, because this is in my bedroom. And the hutch has to be on the other side, and you'll see why in just a moment. The hutch was separate, and it is a matching hutch, so I bought the 2 of them together. I also bought a powered hub to go into one of the USB ports so I can have additional USB items. And each one has a separate power button so I can turn them on or off. This was not expensive, but it was a necessary addition that I needed to have. Here is the USB-C to HDMI so I can run the second monitor. That plugs into the USB-C on the computer, and then an HDMI cable runs from it to the second monitor. I also purchased Remo Outlook Backup and Migrate. You say, well, why would you need to do that? Well, I use Outlook as the major portion of how I read my email. I see there's a couple of messages in the chat box. I will look at them in just a moment. In the Remo, what it does, it backs up all of my Outlook. Outlook a few years ago changed from having one file with all of the emails in it to one for each email address, and I have over 30 email addresses that go into my Outlook. So that meant 30 different files of emails, and I'm a cancer. I save them all. I got emails going back to 2004. Don't ask me why, but sometimes it does come in handy. So anyway, I have 9 gigabytes of Outlook files, and you can't just copy and paste them. You got to set it up. So this Outlook Backup and Migrate looked like the only answer to handle that for me, to back it up. So I went ahead and purchased it. It was $49, and it's a 6-month subscription. I will not renew it after the 6 months. If I need it again, I'll repurchase it, because it's no cheaper to renew it than it is to buy it. To purchase it the first time. but it did allow me to back up the old computer and move all of the files over, and it mostly worked. And I'll explain a little of that later on in our discussions of some other things coming up. I also purchased a new copy of Snagit, and I'm going to talk about Snagit later on today. And then I also bought a 10 terabyte external hard drive to back up everything, because now having a 4 gigabyte SSD card, I need to back it up, and I like to have at least one extra backup. So to have two backups and have it with a lot of information in it, and maybe a third, have room for a third one, I needed a 10 terabyte hard drive. So that's on my desk as well. Here's what the computer looked like when it came out of the box. The round thing here is the base of the monitor, so that wasn't part of the computer. Everything else here was part of the computer. The computer's over here on the right. The power box is almost as big as the computer itself, plus the two cables, one that goes into the power box and then one that goes into the wall. There is a plate that goes on the back of the monitor. It's a Visa plate that I had to get a monitor that would have the place to do a wall mount, but instead of a wall mount, I put this mount there, and I can hang the computer on the back of it. And then there's it did come with an HDMI cable, and that's it back there. And then, believe it or not, there was a great big thick book with all of the warranty information in 100 different languages, and then one sheet of paper that you unfolded to explain how to use the computer. Didn't make sense. Anyway, just gives you an idea of the size of the computer. That's my hand. And you can see the labels on there as well. So it's not a very big unit. And it hangs on the back of my monitor because I am strapped for space. This is in the corner of my bedroom. Again, here is all the pieces and parts. Here is the beginning of putting the desk in the space that it was going to go in. The old desk and all the wires are over here on the left. And these were, at that point, they were all unplugged. And then I plugged them in after that to make sure that to use the old computer, which is mounted on the back of a TV. And so I was able to get it up and running and then move the files and copy the files and back them up using a Cronus true image backup. Anyway, this was the beginning of putting the desk together. Once we got the base done, then we were able to put the drawers in, and then we started. And when I say we, I had one of my neighbors who was a carpenter who knows how to do these things, can bend where I can't, and I had to have him put the whole thing together for me. And so once we got it together, got the hutch together, this is what it looks like. You'll notice the hutch is not on the side that it is in the picture, and that's because I've got a window that it would partially block there. So it's sitting there. The two black shelving units underneath are on wheels. They would not fit under the drawer for the keyboard. But they do fit under there, so I'm able to utilize that space, and I can still get my legs under there, and there's a trash can there. The printer fit just to the right of that, and it all fit. And you can see there's not much room to get by the corner of the bed for me to get by to the bed, to get in bed at night. Here's another picture of it with the monitor set up. And at first, I put some speakers on it. We had it set up, I had it set up like this, and then I went and I got my second monitor, and with the curved monitor and putting them together, that's what it looks like now, and that's what it's looking like in the way we're working with it right this moment. And then that round circular thing between them is the light that's shining on my face, so you see a pretty good view of me. And I had purchased that prior to me doing this upgrade as well. So that's, again, a big thank you for all those, including CFCS, who donated. And I thank you very much. Let's see, there were some questions in the chat box. And let's see if I can find the chat box here. See if there's anything I need to answer now before we go on to the next section. Let's move it over here. Let's see, where did I buy it? I bought it from Amazon. It came out of a company out in the Midwest. The Nux, you can get all kinds of combinations of it. The computer that I'm using now, I purchased from Smart Guy's Computers in Sanford about 7 years ago. He put it together for me. It was also a NUC, and it's lasted me this long, and it's doing very well. And thank you for everybody who donated. And Bob said he's got a recording from the beginning, so thank you, Bob. I appreciate that. I'll need that. Okay, let me go to what we're going to cover next. And I'm going to talk a little bit about Remo, Outlook, Backup, and Migrate. This is what it looks like from their website. It's automated Outlook backup with all the settings and attributes. You can easily move Outlook profile from older to higher Outlook versions. Migrate Outlook profiles to new computer or operating system and customize options. It backed up everything, all my address books, all of my messages, all of my inbox, my outboxes, my trash, and I got rid of the trash afterwards, but it worked well. It did a backup on the old machine. It made a 9 gigabyte file. I put it on an external hard drive, moved it over, and then brought it in and put it on the new machine, and was able then to install it from there. What they call it Migrate. When I did, everything came in, but none of the emails showed up because I got an error message. And let's see, do I have that in here? No, I've got that separately though. So let me show you here. And let's see, thought I had that handy and I changed it. So hang on one second. And I got an error message. I thought I saved it. That's this picture, and I didn't. I've got it somewhere here. Anyway, there was an error message that I got. Oh, I know where it is. It's in. This is sometimes where you have too much technology. And we'll open this up. How to fix the error Outlook data file cannot be accessed. I kept getting an error message when I tried to access my emails. Well, I looked at all through Outlook and the internet and couldn't find it. So I said, well, maybe go to the software people and go to the software people and see if they have a fix or they tell you what to do. And you know, sure enough, I found this article. It was a 4-step process. I opened up Outlook, account settings, and told me go ahead, create a fake account and then change to that account for each one and then change back. And as soon as I did, it worked. And so I just had to do it 30 some odd times. It only took a few seconds. It was still a lot easier than having to create everything all over again. And it worked. So I was happy with it. So it was an easy fix, and I was really happy with the software. So again, it was $49 for 6 months. I only really needed it the one time, and I probably won't use it the next 6 months. So when it dies, it dies. And the next time I buy a computer 7 years from now, I may need it again. And by then, hopefully, they'll still be in business or somebody else will do the same thing. The next thing I want to talk about is, you know, I build a lot of these presentations using screenshots. And I thought I'd share with you some of the ways in which you can do screenshots. And I put together a little video, and I'm going to play that now before we start it. I'm going to full screen it. And I need to make sure that I've got the sound on. Share computer sound. I didn't, so you'll be able to hear it now. The beginning, there is no sound, but there will be in a few seconds. Take a look at this, and then we'll talk about it. Okay, I'm on an iPhone 8. And so the button that we're going to use is the home button at the bottom of the screen and the sleep awake button on the right. So let's go ahead and let's open up the messages here. And then I'm going to click those two buttons simultaneously. It took the picture. Here it is. When we click it, we have a picture, and we can actually edit. We can draw. Well, let's do this. Okay, and we can draw on the screen if we need to. Go back with the black one, and we can say, okay, right here. So we now have our picture. When I go to Done, Save to Photos, and if I go now out to Photos, we look at the photos. Let's see if it's here. It's right there, and there we go. So we've now have a screen capture of whatever we want on the iPhone. If you have an iPhone newer than the 8, and it doesn't have the home button at the bottom, then you will click the button on the right. If it's an iPad, it's going to be the button at the top. And then the up volume button at the same time, and you'll have the same effect. We're on our Samsung S Plus 8 Galaxy, and we're going to attempt to do a screen capture on it. And with this, what we have to do is we have to click the down volume and the power button at the same time. So let's attempt to do that. Let's go to find a program. I'm going to take this so we have something on the screen that we recognize. Just a list of some things on a card star, and I want to get a screen capture of that. So I'm going to press the volume down and the home or power button, which is on the right side. The volume down is on the left side above the Bixby button, and I'm going to click both of them at the same time. And it flashed, and now we see at the bottom. So if we click this, we again see the picture. I'm going to mark it up. I'm just going to say okay. Let's see. No, I don't want to do that. That's if I want to, let's see, how do I mark it? Okay, here. Mark here, and we'll say I want to do this. Okay. And we've now gone ahead and save it. There it is. And if we go now to our gallery, it is there. And we're done. We've got a screen capture. That's how easy it is. As it said in the article, we're going to do a Windows Shift and then S. We get this, and we can say, okay, we want to capture these items right here. Let go. We now have it. It's saved to the clipboard, and we can do whatever we want with it. And if we look over in the Snip and Sketch, it's there. We can then save it to our hard drive wherever we want, and we can call it from APCUG. We save it, and we now have that as a file. So we'll move this out of the way. We're still back on that site. We've got our screen capture.
Camera's on.
Huey, you're muted.
Okay, one of the things that Ron Brown wanted me to remind you was that when you're taking snapshots on your mobile device, be sure that whatever program you're saving it in, you check the gallery view or whatever it's in, make sure you're also saving it to your Google Photos, so then you can go on your desktop computer or your laptop, you can go pick up the same pictures from your Google Photos and utilize them in whatever presentation you're using them for, and so on. So make sure that you're getting them into your Google Photos as well. But knowing how to do that on your phone a lot of times is easy then to send something to one of your friends or family that you saw in Facebook or somewhere else where you can't easily grab the picture, but if you do a screenshot of it, then you can just send it off to them. Same thing with reminders of something going on, some kind of happenings, and so on. Okay, I did want to talk a little bit about you doing this on the on a Windows computer, and I've got some notes here. So let's go back to the APCUG website, because that's a good one to use, because there's lots of items on there. And there's some keystrokes that you want to know about in Windows, and they've been around for a long time. One is on a Windows machine, if you look at your keyboard, there's a button called Print Screen. Very nice to use. However, there are some issues with it. One of them being that it takes the whole screen. So let's just right now, let me just close this out. Let me right now just do a print screen on my, you can't, of course, can't see me do that, but it saved it. Now let me go ahead. I don't have a way to show it to you. So I'm going to just open up something like WordPad, because WordPad will show pictures, and I'll do a Control V and copy it. You'll see, because I have two monitors, it shows both monitors. And it's not, in WordPad, it's not very clear. There are other ways to do it. You can save it to any program that will accept a graphic, and then you have to save it as a graphic. It's not really saving it as a graphic. It's only putting it in the clipboard. So that's a disadvantage. The other thing that you can do with it, besides just the print screen, if you hit Alt Print Screen, whatever window you're on, in other words, the active window, that's what it's going to capture. So if I do click the Alt button and then Print Screen on this computer, and I'm the active window is my browser. Now when we go back to, whoops, not there, we want to go here, and I do a Control V and paste it in, you'll see it's only the one window. So, but it's still in the clipboard. It is not a JPEG. It is not usable. You've got to put it somewheres. Now, what's the best way to do that? Excuse me. One of the best ways, you can just drop it in an email program like Gmail, and it will automatically paste it like a copy paste, and you can then send it to yourself or send it to somebody else. But that's not really the best way to do it. So if you're going to do a screen capture, what you want to do is use something like the snipping tool or Snip in Sketch. Now, how do you get to those? Well, if you type in this little box down here, you type in Snip, you will get either Snip in Sketch or you'll get the snipping tool. The snipping tool is the old application that was included in Windows. They're still including it. Usually when you start it up, it'll say, hey, better than this, you should use the Snip in Sketch. So you can use the Snip in Sketch app. But you don't always have to open the Snip in Sketch. And let me show you what you can do, again, using some keystrokes. And the best way to do that is, let me find my little notes, and of course I don't have it handy. If you hold the Windows key down and the Shift key down and hit S, you'll get a little, it'll gray down the screen and you'll get this box at the top. This is a part of the Snip and Sketch tool. You can close it. You can get a full screen snip. You can get a Windows snip. You can get a freeform snip, or you can get a rectangular snip. So let's do them one at a time. Let's do the full screen snip first. When we do that, it will open it. It saves it to the clipboard. But if we click on that, it actually will open it in Snip and Sketch. And you'll see that I've got both monitors as a full screen capture. This is, and I can make this larger, and I can also save it somewhere as a JPEG. If I do a save as, you'll see I can save it as a PNG, a JPEG, or a GIF. So that's one way in which you get the whole screen. And let's go ahead and close this. We'll go again. We're going to do the Windows Shift S and get our little box. This time, the next one over is a Windows snip. So what we can then is choose which window we want. We'll take this one. It saved it. We click it. And there is our screen capture. And again, we come up here. We can save that. And again, change the title. We can change it as, save it as a PNG, a JPEG, or a GIF. And it'll save it in whatever folder we want to put it in. You'll just have to remember where you're going to put it. The next choice that we have, and we'll close this off, and we'll do a a Windows Shift S, and we'll do the freeform. Now the freeform means that I can draw anything anywhere. So let's say we want to go from here. We're going to take over here and then come down and maybe just here, over, and then here. And then when we click on it, this is what it means by freeform. So you can pick and choose the area of the screen that you want to grab. And again, you can save it in whatever format that you want, wherever you want it. And then the other choice in this is, again, Windows Shift S. You'll get the rectangular box. It grays everything out with a crosshair, and so then you can say, okay, I just want to grab this. You grab it. Now you have it, and you can save that to wherever you want. And again, save it as a JPEG and so on. Nice way to do a screen capture in Windows, very easily, very clean. And I know a lot of you have trouble figuring that out. I hope this will help you. Let's see if there's anything in the chat box. Does anyone have any questions at all in the audience so far? Any comments, questions? Okay, somebody wrote in the chat box. What does the new tool offer? That's what I was just showing you was the new tool, the Snip and Sketch. And you have choices and of how you want to save them and where you want to save them, and it's a better tool. And even Microsoft wants you to use the new one. Okay, now, if you want even more than that, to do screen captures, and if you do a lot of screen captures for presentations and so on, I highly suggest something called Snagit. And this is what it looks like. You'll also see it up here that it's a drop down. And it doesn't have to be there. I can turn that. That's a feature I can turn off. And there's also some presets that you can have. Now, there's so many different things that you can do with Snagit. And I'm just going to show you a couple of things. One is the scrolling that you can do. So I'm going to change this to scrolling window. And I'm going to open up a website. And Marshall, I am going to pick on you today because he's the webmaster of this. And I'm going to go to the stug.org website. And he's got a great website. Lots of information. The one thing about the website, and some websites are like this, others are not, but when I reduce the size of the screen, you have to scroll. Some change the size automatically. But let's say you're on a website like the Stug and you want a screen capture of this whole website page. What do you do? With Snagit, I can say I want a scrolling window and then I want to capture it. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to hit capture. Notice the arrows. That means it's going to scroll as it captures. I'm going to come down to this one here. It says scroll the entire, capture the entire scrolling area. Watch what it does. It moves down, moves over and up, and over a little bit more, gets the rest of it. I'm not touching this. It's doing it all automatically. It's processing the capture. And now it opens up the Snagit editor. You'll see the whole page here, excuse me, and that's 15% of its size. If we make it the actual size, you'll see here that I have this as an entire page, and I can then I can mark it up. I can do things on it. I can put some shapes on it. I can do some arrows to it and so on. And when I'm done with it, I can say I want to save it as, I can put it wherever I want, give it a name, and then save it. And it will save it as either a PNG, a GIF, a JPEG, and all these other formats as well. You can save it in any one of those and then use it for later. So, and then once you've got that large picture, you can go back and then crop out various pieces and parts of it and have all of your captures in one from one source. So that's one of the things I really like about Snagit. I'm sorry, I just. We'll try that again. Okay, the next thing that I want to show you that you can do with Snagit is you can grab text. So I am going to now, instead of looking at Marshall's website, I'll minimize this and close the editor. And so what I'm going to do is I am going to open up, let's see, I'm going to open up the documents, presentations. I'm going to go to the browsers. And I've got, oh gosh, I got this long list of items. And let's see, I'm going to say, okay, let's go ahead and grab all this text. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say in here, I've already got it set for grab text. I'm going to say capture. And I want to capture just all of that. So I'm going to say, okay, there. It's grabbing the text. I click copy all, and then I can either open it up in my Notepad, which is a straight text editor. You'll notice it then loses all of its formatting and it's there, but it's, it may not be what you want. But if you open up WordPad, and both of these programs are free Windows accessories, but you can open it in whatever program you want. But when I do it in this, I have a nice list of everything, and you'll notice that I can highlight these. This is all text, and then I have it all as text. So it's a very nice feature. Now, there's one other thing in Snagit that I really like is the ability. Let's come back over here. We'll close this and close this. And we're going to stay right where we're at, because I want to go over here. One of the other things that I can do is I can look at the presets, and I have some presets. Let's look at the one that I have set for browsers, and I can actually create a hotkey, and then I have some settings. If I go into the edit settings, you'll see one of the things I can do, I can share the file, and I can say automatic file naming, and I can automatic name the files. I can give it a prefix. So this one I call browsers _, and I want to number them with 4 digits starting with the number 1. So it's going to be 0001. So it's going to be browser 0001 for the first picture, and then thereafter, and you'll see what that means here in just a second. And I'm going to cancel that. And then also under that same thing, under fixed folder, I can point where I'm going to send that. And right now I've got it, I have it going to over here under, let's see, we're going to close the Snagit editor. We're going to show you here that I've got a folder called screen captures. And notice as I took pictures of each, as I went through, as soon as I took a screen capture, it named it browsers _003.jpg, and it was done. And then I found something else I wanted to capture. It gave it the next name, 4, and then 5, and then I went in and edited some of them, and so that's why there's a second name to them. But notice 44, 45, 46, 47. So all you have to do, so if you're doing a process and you want to document it, you just tell it, okay, I want to, and let me show you what I mean by that, is I can just say, okay, we're going to, the preset is there, and we're going to go to browsers, and I can close this. And so I've got it under browsers. And so all I have to do is bring the arrow down here, click that. I say, okay, what do I want? I want this part right here that's highlighted. I click it, and I got it. So it's there, and I say, okay, take a picture. I may not have it set up right. Again, this is a new computer. It automatically puts it in there, or it should have. And when it does, I can look down here, and it's going to be the first open number. So because I've deleted some, we may not find it right away, but it puts it right in the folder, and I'm done with it, and I go on to the next item. So I don't have to stop, and you'll notice a couple of windows popped up. Well, normally, if I've been working with this, it will just do it automatically, and I'm ready to continue on with what I'm doing. And it saves the picture, it names it, puts it where I want it, and they're all there together. And so that's Snagit. And then what I want to do is show you in here, we're going to talk about, let's see, what am I doing for time? We're doing okay, but I want to show the Snagit review. And okay, they rate it, PC Magazine rates it 4.5, excellent. The pros are it's flexible and powerful. It's integrated. You can actually make a GIF. You can create a GIF out of it. You can do panoramic scrolling capture, captures drop-down menus, borders and image effects, exports to cloud storage, mobile app Wi-Fi syncing, and has OCR functionality. The con is it's expensive. It runs about $50. However, if you're doing a lot of training, you can consider yourself an educator. You can go into their education page and order the education version of it, and it's about half the price, and they don't ask where you're teaching, and they don't ask anything about it. But make sure, be honest with them. If you're using it to teach people, then by all means you can purchase it cheaper. Otherwise, it's $50. And then each year there's a newer version that comes out, and the update's about $25. The education update is about $15. It's a great program. I've been using it since the early 2000s, probably the late 1900s. I first saw it at a Comdex and got a free version of it at their booth, and have been using it ever since, and have updated it over the years. So I highly recommend it. If you do a lot of screen captures, it's a great program to have in your arsenal. Are there any questions before I go on to the next item? We've covered a lot about screen capturing, and seeing nothing, well, let's continue. And we're back here. So we've talked about screenshots, we've talked about Snagit. Let's go ahead and we'll end with this. I probably won't get to the other items because this we can yak with this for a little bit. And I found this website, and it's been updated recently, but the maps are not updated. But let's go ahead and full screen this so you can see this. I'll make this somewhat bigger. The article kind of shows each of these. Number one is the most commonly spoken language. These are maps of the U.S. with different information. There's actually 41 maps that portray the lesser known facts about America. The number one most commonly spoken language in the U.S. after English and Spanish. Maybe a lot of you don't realize, and I do because I've been working with the election polls. I'm a poll worker, and you can get French Creole and a lot of things in dealing with the state of Florida. They have an English, Spanish, and French Creole. It's the third most used language in the state of Florida. In other states, there are other languages, and you can look and see which one in your state. The next map is the United States Alaskan perspective, and kind of how from Alaska's view, what the rest of us look like. And then, and this one is from a person from Great Britain, how I see the United States. Sorry if it offends anyone. Hot is in red, so California and Florida are there. Yeehaw states are in orange. Small and confusing are in green, dark green. Cold is in a light blue, so all of these, including Alaska, are cold. The one I like is Virginia, or the West Virginia and Virginia. Chicken is Kentucky. Yeah. And unpopulated was, let's see, there was one, well, you'll see what they say. So it's kind of a cute thing from somebody in Great Britain and how they see the United States. Here are states with a smaller population than Los Angeles County. All of these states have less people than just Los Angeles County. Another map, the U.S. watersheds, how the water runs in the U.S. Look how much the Mississippi affects the whole center part of the country. And in Florida, we've got different rivers going in different directions as well. And Texas, where they come out. and so on. So I thought that was very interesting. Red and orange areas have equal populations. So the East Coast and the West Coast and most of the rest of the country are equal in population. Here are United States population lines, and you can see around New York, of course, there's big spikes around the Miami area, West Palm Beach, Tampa, and then out in California, the spikes where the population is a lot more than in other areas. Those of you who are Simpson fans will understand this. The Simpsons are located in Springfield, but they never say what state. So someone put together a route that you can go to every Springfield in the United States and visit them to be a true Simpson fan. And this would be the route that you would take to visit every Springfield in the U.S. The tree cover map of the U.S. How much snow does it usually take to cancel schools? 24 inches in the real dark blue areas, only 12 inches in the lighter blue area, and then 6 inches, 3 inches, 1 inches, and any snow at all in the green areas will close the schools. Most common surnames in the United States, state by state. I'd never realized that some states have different, more popular names than in others. And in the Hawaiian Islands, in the state of Hawaii, Lee is the most popular name. Every state's least favorite state. And so you can figure out what states you hate, or your state hates, and Florida hates themselves and a couple of surrounding ones as well. It's very interesting. The most common country of birth for foreign-born residents, excluding Mexico. Obviously, no surprise, Florida is Cuba, but some of these states, it's very interesting. More people live inside the red area than the gray area. Drug overdose deaths in the United States per 100,000 persons in 1999 on the left and 2014 on the right. U.S. states scaled proportionately to population density. The loudest and quietest spots in the continental U.S. by decibels. Out of service railways. Unbelievable how many railways no longer exist, no longer are in service, but still exist in all of these areas. The U.S. map by residents' desire to move to a different state. The use of the word dang across the continental U.S. Why somebody or how they got the information to figure this out, I have no clue. How America utilizes its land. A lot of you don't know one of the major industries in Florida for many years, it no longer is, but it was cows and steer, livestock. Percentage of people born outside the U.S. in each state. Not sure when this was. This is according to the 2017 census, so it's a few years ago. Regions of the U.S. that don't officially celebrate Christopher Columbus Day. That'll probably change. Popular coffee shop chains by the number of locations. Look how many Starbucks, how many states the Starbucks is the most popular chain. And then there's Dunkin' and Caribou which is up in Minnesota. Map of the lowest recorded temperatures in each of the states. Light population of the United States. Air traffic control zones. I didn't realize how few there actually were and where they were. So if an airplane's going from one place to the other, these are the zones in which they have to abide by and contact. U.S. education spending map. Who spends the most? Map of the United States, 8 million miles of roads, streets, and highways. You can spend hours and hours just looking at these and then going into the information and checking on them. So I am just kind of going through them. Garbage can versus trash can in the United States. Who would have thought that this is a local term? I understand soda and pop, but I've never realized that there was a difference in garbage can and trash can by localities either. A portion of each state that is federal land. All U.S. counties with In-N-Out burgers as of May 2020. We don't have any in Florida. Waffle House locations by states. So if you got a Waffle House, you can see how many are in each state, if you like Waffle Houses. Date of creation of all of the counties in your state and other states. U.S. governors by eye color. I wonder who went and figured that out. They probably got paid a lot of money to do that research too. Voters who didn't vote for Hillary or Trump. The average size of U.S. apartments by region. The results of the 1984 United States presidential election by county. The most lopsided election in history. The only state Reagan failed to win was his opponent's Minnesota. 40 counties with over a GDP of over $100 billion. And the last one, I think there was 41 of them. The U.S. country map divided by 1/3 of COVID deaths. And this probably has changed. I don't know what the date of this was. So those are the maps. I found it interesting and an interesting site. And we'll stop the share. And we'll open it up for any comments or questions. We've got... we got about 10 minutes if anyone has some questions, comments. Marshall.
I wanted to mention, you were talking about labels. A lot of people don't realize this, but you can buy full-size labels, sheet-size labels, and then cut them down to whatever size you want. Mm-hmm. I sent a fair amount of labels, but you can buy a smaller quantity of labels and then use them however you want. I don't use them just for mailing. I use them throughout the house for all sorts of labeling. So
you want to make sure that they're pretty sticky and then label both sides of them and then fold it over a wire, for instance. And I also label every plug. So when I look at if I've got a plug that's got, and I've got a bigger plug on top of the main plug, and I might have either 4 or 6 plugs into that wall socket, I make sure that each one is labeled, so when I unplug one, I don't unplug the wrong thing.
Absolutely.
So I've got one on top of the plug itself, but sometimes they don't stick very well, and so I always make sure that I have it right at the end of that, so that and then stick it to itself so it doesn't come off. Any other comments? Or I can only see. Well, I see a good many of you, but not all of you. No, I am seeing all of you. Yep. Okay. So anybody else? You just raise your hand, or Peter?
What is the make and model of that round light that you have? It seems to give you a very good image.
I would have to go to Amazon to find out. And so let me do that as we're talking. And I can share that with you to show you how I would find out, because it'll have the price as well. So let me share screen and open up Amazon. Let's see, I got to open up a new tab. Amazon count my orders. And I order a lot of things from them, as you can tell. Right here, I got it in April, and it was an 8-inch selfie ring. Whoops, I guess that's gone. But the one I got, this was around $50. It looks like that particular one is gone now, but around $50, and it was an 8-inch one. And you have different colors that you can. Yeah, I can't. The page is gone, so that particular supplier doesn't have a page anymore.
Thank you.
But yeah, I got the 8-inch, and you can get them smaller, bigger. Let's see, stop share. Any other questions? Tony?
I have a question. When I did an image backup using the Windows technique, and it offered to make a restore USB or disk, which I did. Now that was on a Win 10 home with 64-bit processor. Will that same restore USB work with other versions, like a Windows Pro 32-bit machine, or do I need a separate one for each version of Windows?
The answer to that is I have no idea.
Well,
Jerry, do you have any idea? Have you ever used the backup for Windows? I've never used the Windows backup. I use Acronis True Image. Have used it for years. I tried various things to move the data files that I have on the old computer over to the new computer. And one of them was something called a Tornado that I got at an APCUG conference back in the 1900s, probably earlier, middle 1990s. And that was very slow and painstaking, but it worked. And I copied a bunch of files and then to an external drive and plugged them in. And that also was a slow process. So what I did is I used my True Image backup and then selectively picked folders. And I picked the documents folder, which was 200 and some odd gigabytes, and restored it from my my external drive that had the True Image backup, and it was a matter of just a couple hours, and it downloaded the whole thing. So that was the fastest way to do it as well. So I've had good luck. I know Mike Ungerman, who I may or may not still be on here. Mike has used True Image over the years and has had hit and miss issues. I have always been very successful with it. I even had a hard drive die on me, and I put a new hard drive in and restored it from an image, and it was back up and running within an hour and a half. So it varies. As I say, I've had real good luck with it. Gene Barlow has spoken to most of the user groups that a lot of you belong to. Over the years, he still maintains a user group relations website. You can buy True Image cheaper from him than you can from Acronis, and he does support it. So if you have questions and so on, you can contact him and he'll actually try to come up with answers for you a lot easier than a Cronus will answer you. And as I say, I've been using a Cronus for years, and I usually a lot of times make a USB copy of it. So if it's bootable, I can plug it in and it will boot a computer to it and run the software, and I can install or restore from the bootable USB drive.
Hey, thank you.
Okay, several comments. Let's see. I want to see if I'm missing anything here. What does the new tool offer? And I talked about that. Somebody said, George said, very interesting. Thanks. Got to go. Thanks so much. Enjoyed it. Thanks, everyone. Very interesting. Bye. And thanks, Huey. Excellent presentation. Very enjoyable. Learned a lot. I love the screen capture part best. Okay, good. Marshall?
I use a product called Always Sync, and my concern is not so much the software that's installed, but the files that I have put on there that are important to me. And what Always Sync allows me to do is to sync to another computer or a hard drive, portable hard drive. And so in actuality, on Friday, I do both. I do it to a small portable hard drive, and I also sync to my laptop. So the data appears in both computers at the same time.
Yeah, let me repeat the name of that program. It's called Always Sync.
Always.
I believe it's
no S. Always.
No S.
Sync.
Always Sync. It's free, I believe, but I'm not sure if there was a paid version as well.
There is.
But the nice thing about it, I don't know if you've ever copied from either one folder to another folder or one computer to another computer, and it dies somewhere in the middle. And then you've got some of the programs or some of the files on one computer and all of them, of course, on the original source. Now you don't know. So when you try to copy it again, it'll keep coming up and saying, hey, you already got it. Do you want to overwrite it? And you say no, and then it does the next one. And it'll keep doing that, and it'll drive you nuts. Well, Always Sync looks at both sides and says, okay, these files are here. All of these files are here. There's some on both sides that you don't have, some you do have. What do you want to do? And you just say, okay, just move the ones I don't have over here, and it'll continue and finish. And you don't have to worry about that at all. It's a really nice program, and I highly recommend it to have in your arsenal as well. Especially if you're moving a lot of files often from either one computer to another, or one folder to another, or from your computer to a cloud source.
And for those that are not big on backing up, I have a saying on my little card that says, my dentist told me to back up, to floss only the teeth I want to keep. And my reply is, only back up the data that you want to keep, because sometimes you don't get a second chance. And along the same lines, I had a failure of a hard drive. And before I got too concerned about it, the people that do my work, locally Discount Computers, took my old hard drive, which had failed. And most people don't realize the majority of the time when there's a failure on the hard drive, it is the electronics and not the data itself. So therefore, they took the old hard drive after installing the new hard drive and made the old hard drive a slave. And then it was a matter of just copying from one to the other. I mean, it was a piece of cake. Out the door in about 90 minutes.
Yeah, back when I was in the computer business, our technician was able to take the board that frequently failed on a hard drive, replace it with a similar board from a similar hard drive, and get the electronics to work so we could get the data off the old one. So there are people who can do that. I'm not one of them, but there are some people who can do that, and there are some stores and technicians that can do that. Stan, do you ever do that? You're muted.
Yes, I have been able to do that in the past. It's not always successful, but it's certainly worth a try. You can find a similar board with the same specifications. It's worth a try.
Yeah, the best thing to do is have at least one backup, have many. The new Acronis, by the way, you do get cloud backup. And so I decided, well, let me try backing up my 230 some odd gigabytes of my documents folder to the cloud and see what happens. So they give you a terabyte of storage. It only took about 26 hours to upload it all, but it does it in the background. So, and if you turn your computer off by mistake or you turn your computer off, it will start up and then continue from where you left off. But I have now my documents folder, and it took about 14 hours, I think, for my download folder to go to the cloud backup for Acronis. So I have, and my old computer, I still have, it's called iDrive, I think, iDrive, and I've got to figure out how I can change it over to the new computer without having to upload all this stuff all over again, because it's all there. It's just on a different drive, letter, and a different drive. So there's supposed to be a way in which I can do it. So it'll match it, mix and match, and then it only updates, it only sends the new information up to the cloud. But it does take a long time.
Huey, you have a lot of devices attached to your computer. You have external drives, you have monitors, and so forth. One of the things that's a problem is in most homes, you have an outlet that has two places that you can put in plugs. So one of the things that I have discovered and purchased, and you can get it at Home Depot, is what is called a power strip. And power strips that you typically think of that you get at the local store have 4 or 6 outlets in them. They have a 12 outlet power strip. It is 4 feet long, but by golly, it, number one, gives you an awful lot of additional outlets. And second of all, they're separated by enough distance that when you have these blocks, the wall warts, they used to call them, that plug in and interfere with about 3 other outlets if you use a typical power strip. They work very well, and they're not very expensive. I'm looking at one now in Home Depot. It's 4 feet long, 12 outlet, and it's 24 and change.
Yeah, you've got to be very careful. You don't want to get one as a heavy duty one. You don't want one that's just got a very thin electrical cord to it. I bought several years ago, I bought some that were called, I bought them from Radio Shack, so you can tell how long ago that was. They were called octopus extensions and cords. And what they did, it was a round piece which had wires coming off of it. And I think there were 6 or 8 of them, and each one was like a separate plug. And so you could separate them. You could put the blocks on all of them, and it was really nice. I mean, I know I've got 2 of them right now. I've got one plugged into my UPS and one plugged into a power outlet. The one for the UPS is so when the power goes out, my computer still stays running enough for me to shut it down. So I have the items that I need to maintain the computer running enough for me to shut it down on a UPS.
And that's called an octopus?
Yeah, it was called an octopus style. I don't even know if you can still get them or not, but it had wires coming out of a central unit with an on-off switch for it that I really liked.
The one in APC battery backup comes with 8 outlets.
Yeah, the APC, and you got to be careful on the back of the APC UPSs or any UPS. Some of the outlets are powered from the UPS, and some are just like an extension. And so when the power goes off, they don't do anything; they shut off. So you got to make sure you plug into the right ones, the things that you want to be battery operated if the power goes off.
Well, on the 8 outlet ones, 4 is with the surge protector, and 4 are not. I'm sorry, 4 are for the battery backup, and the other ones are just surge protector.
Right. Peter, you had a question or comment?
Yeah, I wanted to also recommend Acronis True Image. I use it to back up my boot drive, and I have 7 computers, and I use it on all of them, but just backing up the boot drive. And the boot drive in each computer has just the operating system and programs, no data. All data is on separate drives. And this has saved me a couple of times, to the point where if the program cost 10 times the amount that it costs, it would still be worth every penny. If I have a boot drive crash, if the drive is just completely dead, the amount of time from when I get a replacement blank drive until everything is copied over to it and it's up and running perfectly as if nothing ever happened is roughly 10 minutes. It is worth every penny. I would again say that in my case, I use it just to back up the boot drive, which has only operating system and programs. For backing up my data, I've written my own program, so to speak, actually using old-fashioned batch files. All of my computers are networked together, and I have it set up so that every 2 hours, all of the data on each computer is copied over to each of the other computers, and that just runs 24/7 and works very well for me. And it was quite a learning experience to write these incredibly long batch files that do all this stuff. But
Yeah, Andrew Davis asked, does anyone use Carbonite for backup? I use iDrive, which is very similar, and I purchased, I think it was 2 terabytes of space, and it's relatively cheap. The first year was really cheap. It was like 80% off the first year, and I've had it now several years. And what they did is they sent me, and Carbonite does, I believe, the same thing. They'll send you a hard drive. They charge you for it. But you get the money back as soon as they get the drive back. They send you a drive, you back up your data using their software, you send it back to them, and they place it out on the cloud, so you don't have that 24, 48 hours or however long it's going to take to upload it all. They put it online for you, let you know when it's ready, and then you're done. So from then on, you only add new or changed files. I'm quite sure Carbonite does the same thing. So I was a reseller for Carbonite for a very short period of time. I had an issue, and they didn't, I had an issue as a reseller, and they didn't fix my issue, and so I vowed never to use them, and so I haven't since. But that's a personal thing. But as I say, I use iDrive for cloud backup, and now I'm using also the Acronis cloud backup as well. Somebody asked me, what headset do I use? The headset I use is no longer available. I found one when mine died about 6 months ago. I found somebody that had one in stock, and I bought it. It's a gaming headset. I've been real happy with it, but they don't have this model anymore. And the thing I really like about it is this is, most of them that have a microphone, it's a one piece. This one kind of bends, and it's so I can move it around to wherever I want it. And I really like that. And it also retracts into the headset when I don't want to use it. And everyone seems to say that the quality of the microphone is pretty good. So I did find, when I was cleaning out drawers and moving things, I found a gaming headset that I purchased, and it even had the bill for it from 2016. It's still in a bubble wrap, sealed, and I've never opened it. So one of these days I want to have to open it and try it as well, see if it's any good. Okay, I think I'm really running over on time. We need to take a break before Jerry starts. Marshall, one last comment?
I wanted to tell you that the Octopus style electrical connection is available at Amazon, Home Depot, and Walmart.
Okay, and how much does it run? Does it say?
From $18 to $27.
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah, and they're heavy duty, and I was real happy with the ones I have.
Ken Larrabee has his hand up.
Oh, yeah, Ken, you had a question or comment?
No, somebody asked about Carbonite. I use that. All my video and pictures are on Carbonite. It runs in the background. You never see it. And I recommend it.
Okay, you're happy with he's happy with Carbonite for whoever asked the question.
Yep.
And Tom Hirsch said I use Carbonite for 2 of my computers. It automatically backs up files on the cloud, saving a lot of time. When I did backups to external hard drives, it took 2-3 hours to do that. About 360 gigabytes backed up from each computer. And Judy put the Home Depot Octopus Surge Protector, $19, and she's got a link in the chat box. If you're interested to in any of the comments, questions in the chat box, go ahead and tell it to save it before we close down. I'm going to stop the recording. So before I do that, I want to let's see, bring this up. And just say that this has been the Windows Special Interest Group, the WinSIG for July 12th, 2020. Thank you for joining.